Hey there, everybody. That's right. It is another episode of Talkin Schmoedown. I am Josh, the Merc Raynor, and I am so excited to be here for another episode. It's going to be a good one, man. There's some great matches, some announcements that have been made, all kinds of interesting stuff has gone on, and I'm really excited to get into it. So I hope you guys are too. All right, so this is episode number 47, and I'm going to get into some announcements from the chairman, a new little segment that I've got going on here. So Christian Harloff came out and announced that title matches speed rounds will now have 10 questions with 60 seconds to answer them. Yes. So instead of the normal, you have 5 questions and you have to buzz in. Now it's going to be 10 questions, 60 seconds total. Same questions for both competitors. So it's one competitor at a time. They answer their 10 questions. They get their 60 seconds. They try to answer the 10 questions, as many as they can. And then the other competitor comes in. I'm not 100% sure how. He's kind of talking about dropping people out and so that they can't hear and having them on the phone with somebody from the production so that they're not cheating in any way. But it'll be interesting. There'll be no buzzers or anything like that. So I'm really intrigued to see how this goes. And then the other announcement that he made was well, there's actually technically, I guess you could say there's four altogether, but the winner of the Star Wars tournament will officially play Alex Damon at Spectacular this December. So, once, next week, once the finals for the Star Wars tourney are done, you're going to have to wait almost 6 months, pretty much, in order to get, to the actual title match. So, which kind of sucks a little bit, but I get it. With the way things are going, who knows what kind of other events where they're even gonna like big events they're gonna even have. Um, just because of the fact that it's all online. So, unfortunately, that's kind of the way that it's got to be. It will be sad to have to wait 6 months to see that title match, but I do understand where he's coming from. He also announced that the Roca versus Irwin number one contender match is aiming for July 31st. So they got just over a month. Hopefully, they're aiming for that date. It's not completely set, but that's what they're shooting for. And he even went on. I think it was either today or late yesterday, and said that they think that they have found a way to do the teams matches online virtually. So he didn't go into detail or anything about how. So I'm excited about that. Was the one thing that I was worried about. I was like, are we not going to see any teams matches because it's limited? If you're on like StreamYard, for instance, you can only do 6 people. But I think if you use like Zoom, you can do a lot more. So maybe they're gonna do something like that. And if this new speed round thing where they have to drop people completely out of the stream, if that works, then maybe something like this will actually work where they can drop out and then confer. Or, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I'm probably gonna have to alter it a little bit here and there, but I'm really excited to see how it all turns out. So I also want to talk a little bit about backstage. Uh, Backstage is I've always said this. I love this show. It's so good. Um, this week we had a lot of great guests on. Ben hosting. Roka came in a little bit late. Then we had Eric Zipper was on the show. RB3 and Ace Cabrera was on the show. Andrew Dimalanta and Paul Oyama all made appearances. Talking about the Schmoedown, about things going on in their lives and stuff. Ben mentioned that the whole Roca Irwin thing happening and that he's got a number one contender match owed to him after he lost his title. And then also, with Dan being the champ, that the three of them, the three like main contenders from the Finstock Exchange, may not be in this upcoming singles tournament. And I mean, obviously, Dan, as the champ, he's not going to be in it. But seeing Roca and Ben not be in this 36-person tournament is kind of crazy to me personally. Um, I think that both of these number one contenders matches need to take place before the singles tourney. I'm not sure when he's got the singles tournament planned for. Obviously, he's going to probably wait until after, you would think, until after maybe after the IG, but I don't know, because with the Star Wars tournament ending, it kind of opens up some space. Maybe they'll start doing some more Twitch stuff. Maybe they'll start putting singles matches on Twitch. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are for that. But I think that I really think that these two number one contenders matches need to happen before this tournament. That way, whoever loses gets the opportunity to be in the tournament. Now, I don't know if so. Okay, so we got Ben having being owed a number one contenders match. You got the Roka and Irwin one. So I don't know if it's like, okay, Roka and Irwin happens, and then that person faces Dan, and then Ben and whoever face off, and then that person faces the winner of the, like, I don't know exactly how it's gonna break down, but I think that some of it at least should happen, so that it should happen before this tournament, so that they can at least maybe one of them have the opportunity to be in this tournament. Ben does great in these tournaments, and it would be sad to see him not in there. Same with Roka, or even Ethan Irwin if Roka goes on to win that match. And same with Ben. I don't know who Ben would be facing, but yeah, I think it would be a missed opportunity to have that. I mean, with a big 36-person tournament, I mean, I think it would be. I think it would be a missed opportunity. So like I said, Zipper came out and he mentioned that he's roommates with Mark Andreyko. I had no idea. I thought that was really cool. Thought it was worth mentioning. They seem like a weird, so like we have him, we have Andreyko and Snyder as the odd couple. I mean, I think Andreyko and Zipper seem like an odd couple as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting to find out. Then when RB3 was on, he talked a lot about how current Schmoedown podcasts have been disrespecting Ace, and he singled out the Schmoedown rundown. I catch it once in a while. It's a great show. Got a lot of stuff going on. I used to listen to it all the time, but I haven't. In general, I kind of don't listen to much podcasts anymore. Just in general, I don't have a lot of time because I'm doing a lot of other stuff. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but But I have noticed that some other Schmoedown podcast type things do kind of throw some shade. And it's not necessarily throwing hate at Ace, in my opinion. A lot of it is they don't think he's got it, and they're real vocal about it. Now, seeing what Ace has done in these two matches so far, winning, he's 2-0 in Star Wars, the only person to ever do that. I may have underestimated him, but I never once, threw hate at him. I never once thought he's just gonna get wiped out here. Now, I'm gonna say this: I do not think that he's going to win against Laura Kelly. I think he could win, but I just don't quite think he's there yet. But I think he's got the potential, and I think he will be a force in the Star Wars division. It also probably doesn't help that I am a huge Laura Kelly fan, and I've been rooting for her to take the entire tournament anyways. So maybe I'm a little biased when it comes to that. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what it is. People see kind of like these new people kind of coming in, these untested individuals coming into a division like this, and they just kind of throw shade all over the place, kind of forgetting that these are people too, so guys, chill out on that. Then Dimalanta comes back on the show. He was on last week, and he's always great having on. He's got such passion for this game, and I love seeing what he's been bringing to it over the last few weeks. And then they asked a few questions of one another, and I kind of wanted to bring them up a little bit. One of them was, should answers be quote specific if it's not a quotes question? So if the question isn't asking specifically for a quote, should it be super specific to that quote? Like, for instance, the clerk's question, where they ask about, I believe it was Dante's favorite installment, and he said the quote is Empire, and I believe the question asks, what does he say? So it can be interpreted that way. So really, the question, yeah. So like I said, the question is, should those types of things be quote specific? And I think if it's not asking for what a specific character said, if it's just like what was in Clerks, what is Dante's favorite Star Wars movie? And you say Empire Strikes Back, okay. But if you're saying what did he say it was, he says Empire, yeah, and that should be the correct answer. Now, whether or not you say that saying Empire Strikes Back is incorrect, I that's a whole nother ball game. Probably not, but like something like saying just Empire should definitely be correct because that is what he says. So that's kind of where I land on that. I'm curious to what you guys think. Hop on to you hop on Twitter at Merc or at Movie Blog Merc. You can see it right down at the bottom, scrolling across there. Follow me on Twitter at Movie Blog Merc. You can also hop on to right here on YouTube. If you're watching the live stream, or if you're watching it later on YouTube, you can hop in the comments, or even on Anchor, movie blog Merc. You can leave me a voice message. So, what are your thoughts on this whole quote specific thing? I'd really like to hear your thoughts. The other question that popped up was should consecutive title defenses be awarded an extra faction point? Now, what this would mean is so you win a title, you defend a title. Okay. Then you defend it a second time, should you get an extra point for your team. It's kind of, it's essentially a bonus for being so good. And actually, when they brought this up, I started thinking about it, and I think that would be a great extra like little thing to add to this game. You've got someone who is that good, who's able to keep a title for to win a title match at least 3 times in a row, because you have to win the title, and defend it again in order to get that extra point. I think that deserves an extra point personally. Now, yeah, we would probably be getting extra points from like Alex Damon all over the place but when you look at something like, because they brought that up, Alex Damon, that team would be getting all kinds of points, but if you look at it, he doesn't play often. Like he's not playing until December during Spectacular, so it's not like they're racking up points with a rule like this. Um, and it's a lot harder to do in any other division. It really is. So I think this would be a really interesting thing to put into place to see who can actually do this in sick fashion and continue to keep a belt like that. I think it would be really fascinating. Maybe they won't do that this year. I don't know, especially with all the craziness going on. But at minimum, I think next year they should definitely implement this. I think it's a fascinating little extra to see. Again, hop on to the various social medias and whatnot, and let me know your thoughts on that. And then the final question that they asked of us was, who should take over as the manager of the Droogs? Now, obviously, we recently saw Brandon Hanna throwing his hat in the ring. If you listened to the show last week, I do not think that he should be the manager of the Droogs. He's too self-involved, at least character-wise. I'm saying character-wise because he's obviously playing this character hard, and he's far too self-involved to really be an effective manager, in my opinion. And we saw that with what he did with Ken. He made it all about himself, and he didn't. He kind of dragged Ken through the mud, and that's not what a good manager does. So definitely don't think it should be him. But a fan actually recommended Matt Nost. Um, I love Matt Nost, don't get me wrong, but again, I don't think he would have the passion for it that's needed for a job like this. Then Roca goes on and says Rachel Cushing, who I think that's a fantastic idea. You could see her versus Sam, like factions going against each other, and she knows this game. She has passion for the game, and I think being a manager would probably be easier on her than when she was playing. She had a lot of stuff going on, and I get that. I think she would make a fantastic manager. Whether or not she wants to, I don't know. But again, hop on various social medias. Again, you can right down there my Twitter handle at movieblogmerc, on anchor.fm/movieblogmerc, and right here on the YouTube stream, you can also answer this question: who do you think should take over for the Droogs? All right. And now we are going to hop into the first match. And that is Andrew the Hunter Dimalanta versus Magic Mollie Damon in a round 2 Star Wars tournament match. What a fantastic match this was. Two amazing competitors. My favorite thing about these matches being virtual, you get to see, so you got Christian up there, you got Mark up there, but you also get Mark's dog Mollie just lounging in the recliner behind him, and I loved that throughout this match, just kind of like peering up at Mark's camera and just seeing the dog there. It was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. It has been in some of the other ones when she's been there. So with this match, Andrew he's a machine now, man. He's laser focused, and it's impressive to see. But that's not taking anything away from Mollie Damon. She is a force in this, and that's sure, pun intended. It really wasn't intended, but we're gonna go with it. But it's it was a this is definitely the match that I wanted to see on this side of the bracket. I think that Mollie has, I mean, obviously being married to Alex Damon, being in the house with Alex Damon, studying with him, you get and be, she on Star Wars show, she's entrenched in Star Wars. She loves Star Wars, but you can actually see you can see holes in the things that she prefers and the things that she knows about it. And I think Andrew picked up on some of that stuff as well. You can kind of see it, but we get into round 1, and right off the bat, I noticed something. They ask the question where the answer it's Siths don't, I can't remember the quote. I'll be totally honest with you. Where the answers were absolutes, like they don't meddle in absolutes, whatever it was. I don't know. I'm not super heavy Star Wars crazy like some of these others, and I honestly forgot what the question specifically said. Again, quotes questions. How specific should you be? And here's one right here. He said absolute. He wrote it down, absolute, with no S. And she wrote absolutes. And the answer is absolutes. But nobody fought it. There was no challenge, nothing. They were both given the point, and he shouldn't have gotten it right. Now, would this have changed the outcome of the match? No, it wouldn't have. But it's still, this is one of those things that they need to, if they're going to be sticklers for stuff like this, they need to be sticklers for it then, and catch stuff like this. Unfortunately, like I said, the managers never caught it. Is what it is. Mark wound up distracting Christian at one point, causing him to totally miss the countdown, because for these live matches they have the 15-second countdown now, and I don't remember what they were talking about, but he was chatting with Mark, and it counted down to 0, and then Christian's like, oh, 5, and he did 5, 4, and he counted it down. So essentially, they both got an extra 5 seconds. They didn't need it; they were both ready to go. But I just thought it was funny. So it's like seeing an actual countdown clock. You kind of understand that sometimes people get more time than others because Christian, he's just kind of doing his own thing sometimes. And I think having the countdown clock, especially after that time, he didn't. I don't think he messed it up after that. I think he realized that, okay, I gotta, as soon as it hits 5, I gotta start that countdown. I gotta be on top of this. And speaking of the countdown timer, for some weird reason, when question 8 popped up, there was no countdown timer. I don't know what happened. I don't know who starts it. I remember when it first came up, Christian was surprised that it was even there. I don't know who controls it, but we got a perfect round from both Mollie and Andrew. Mollie did miss her bonus question though. But here's the thing: if they had challenged that first question, Mollie would have been the one with the perfect round. Andrew would have not had a perfect round, and therefore would not have been able to answer and get that bonus question. So he would have actually been 2 points lower, and Mollie would have been in the lead coming out of round 1. But because that didn't happen, round 1 ends 11-10 in favor of Andrew Dimalanta, and we get into round number 2. Andrew goes on and spins Return of the Jedi. He's confident in that, and he sticks. I don't know if I've seen him spin away yet. He's confident. I think in pretty much. I don't know if he's got any real weaknesses, really, as we saw with that match against Scrimshaw, and even here, he does exceptionally well. He knows his shit. So we get into question number 1, and when he's answering the question, he says the correct answer. Now, there was a lot of controversy, a whole lot of controversy over this, okay? I think the answer was like Tyrium, something like that. Ended, no matter what, it ended with an M. And if you watch the video, he says the correct answer because the letter M and the letter N, when they're spoke, your lips make different shapes, different movements. Tyrium, they touch with an M. Tyrion, they don't touch when you say the N, but they do with an M. And his lips touched when he said Tyrium. So he says the correct answer. No matter, I do not care what anybody says. I saw on Facebook Brandon Hanna trying to say that he said N. No, he didn't. Sorry, guy, he did not say N. He said M. But unfortunately, he did spell it with an N. And I agree with Tom when he challenges it and he says that he doesn't like the fact that he had to say he wasn't able to use a whiteboard to spell it. They didn't say, okay, get a piece of paper, write it out for us, and I want to see how you spell it. He had to sit there in the moment and think and try to figure out this. And it's not like it's necessarily an easy word to spell. He obviously got jumbled up in his head and he said the wrong letter because he speaks it with an M when he says the actual word, but then he unfortunately spells it incorrectly. So, and it is what it is. They lose the challenge. Unfortunately, it's just the way it goes. Fortunately, it doesn't affect the outcome. Again, it does, but stuff like that can affect an outcome. Now, I don't know if Christian was distracted or what, but Tyrium saying it, they do sound similar. Okay, now Christian's the one who wanted more, like he wanted it repeated back. So, and that's something that he doesn't do often. He should have. I agree with Tom. He should have said, okay, grab something to write on and spell it out. That way, gave him, a certain amount of seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds to write it out. And there you go. And this might have been different. He might have actually had a perfect round 2. He would have had 2 perfect rounds then. Even though technically that very first question is incorrect, on the books, perfect round. Um, so his round, he gets 8 points. One miss, and Mollie gets that 2 point steal. That could have really, that's a 4 point swing total. He loses those two and she goes up those two. That's a big difference here. Um, so it's huge. So Mollie goes and she spins a New Hope. Now she didn't look like she wanted it, and she respins. I was shocked by this. I mean, it's a New Hope. It's classic. It's one of the best Star Wars movies that there is. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's not the biggest fan of that specific chapter of this saga, this specific episode. But I was a little shocked, like, because she respins and lands on Phantom Menace. And if it was the other way around, I could be like, I could understand someone not necessarily wanting to deal with, like, to kind of go through Phantom Menace questions. I don't know, but I was surprised that she respun away from A New Hope. But like I said, she gets Phantom Menace, and she does really well in this. She gets 8 points out of 10. Misses. She misses once. Um, she goes multiple choice, misses it, and Andrew only gets a 1 point steal. So it's not like it's terrible. It's not like that big 2 pointer steal. And at the end of round two, it's a 20-20 tie. Now, if that first question of Andrew's in round two had gone a different way, had gone, if it had been counted, because like I said, he says the correct answer right off the bat. And if it had gone his way, we're talking about a 4 point swing there. We're talking a 22-18 game coming out of round two, and which makes it a lot harder for Mollie to actually get what she needs to get, and it would have wound up being a TKO. So that call actually cost the Finstock Exchange a faction point, because it would have been a TKO. That's unfortunately not for them. Not what happened. We get into round three. Mollie gets her 2 pointer, and then winds up missing her 3 pointer. It was close, but or no, she got her two, missed her three, but like I said, it was real close. Best men, best troops. She was in the ballpark. Obviously, it's not correct, but so you can tell she has a lot of this knowledge, but she needs to kind of laser focus a bit more when she's studying. Maybe I don't know what it is that she would need to do. I've never done studying for something like this, so I don't know what the techniques would be. But I feel like I've noticed that a few times throughout her few matches that she's had, that sometimes she's not, the focus on the answer isn't quite as there. Like with that shield generator question in her match against Adam Witt, stuff like that. Then she goes on and misses her 5, and that's what gives Andrew the win. But like I said, if Andrew had gotten that question correct, if they had been awarded those points, it would have been 22-20 or 22-18 going into round three. She would have gotten her 2 pointer, so it would have been 22-20. She would have missed her 3 and 5 TKO right there. Andrew would have never had to have even answered any questions at all. It wouldn't have mattered, and that's where it would have been. But 25-22, and the Finstock Exchange gets 3 extra points. They're just raising up in the ranks here. They are clutching on to that number 1 spot and not letting go. They're so far ahead of pretty much everybody else right now. It's crazy. And at the end of the episode, I'll show the finalized faction standings, all the points, and everything like that. Thank you to whoever does the actual physical graphics. I don't know if it's Eric from Nerd Chronic, if he does like those graphics or what, or who winds up doing them. But I love these graphics, and they put them at the end of the episode, so I was able to get a screenshot, a nice clean screenshot of the faction standings as where they stand at the end of the final match. So with these live Twitch Star Wars matches, they do a Q&A at the end with the winner, which is really cool. I really dig it. It's like about a half an hour. And this is where Harloff stated that there was going to be a new speed round that I talked about at the top of the show. You know, the 10 questions, 60 seconds to answer. And I think it's really, really interesting. And I really am excited to see where it goes. And this is also where he announced the tournament winner being facing Damon at Spectacular. And again, I think that's a long ways to wait, man. I understand you want to do it in a big setting, and you're hoping that by December you might be able to do a live show or something bigger, maybe an in studio show even. But we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out. All right, so we get into our next match, and that is Emily Rose Jacobson versus Eric Zipper in Innergeekdom Round 1 tournament match. Again, Eric Zipper he's a fucking beast, man. I'll be honest, underestimated him. I know a lot of people. There's been a lot of like weird hate toward Emily over the last couple of days, and I understand that she didn't do great. She really didn't. Um, I had a lot of faith in her. I was really hoping that she could pull it off because, you saw that match that she had against Winston, and it was, an 8-point win. Like she won with only 8 points. That's not a good. Yes, it's a win, but it's not a great look when you're going stats wise. Now, again, not great points wise here for this match. I don't know. I don't know if she's because she talks about at the end how she does want that title, but the thing is you gotta be dedicated. You gotta really hit the studying hard, and you gotta have a regimen and really watch these movies. And if she's not able to do that, she may just wind up being, a casual IG player. Like I love seeing her play. She's a fantastic personality. She's so fun and cool and to watch. But unfortunately, her performances haven't been that great. And I'm hoping to see. Obviously, she did better. She definitely did better at this. And if she can continue to her, grow her knowledge and her skill set and make it kind of blossom out. No, again, no pun intended, since she is the rose. I think she could, at some point, be a force. Now, last week on backstage, Roka talked about, if you're taking someone kind of fresh, it might take a year to learn IG, like to really get like championship level IG. She's somebody I'd like to see kind of go through this sort of almost like inner geekdom boot camp thing that he kind of talks about, to see how good she can get, because I think she has the potential. I really do. It's just unfortunately it hasn't really seen it all that much throughout these couple matches that she's had. So okay, so this match, Emily Rose Jacobson, Eric Zipper, it's FinStock Exchange versus the Dungeon. Opens up with the scene with Kaiser calling Zipper to give him a pop quiz, and then they just start talking about kind of what they're going to do. I've kind of really missed these scenes. We haven't gotten much of stuff like this. We get like the promos, but we haven't really gotten opening scenes or ending scenes much since the pandemic and the whole virtual thing. So I really dig that they did this. I hope we get to see a little bit more stuff like this in the future, because again, that's something that I did really miss. And the scene ends with Zipper saying, "God, that guy is nuts, but he knows how to win." And my first reaction to this was, "Does he though?" No offense, Kaiser. But seeing as going into this match, the Dungeon was 1-6 for their matches in 2020. It's not looking good. You guys were in last place coming into this match. Now, yes, you moved up in the rank a couple spots, after this match. Unfortunately for you, as we'll see later on, you moved back down a little bit too. But I don't know what it is. I think you just had some bad luck, really. But you can't just bank on IG. You got Robert Parker. You've got obviously Zipper. He's doing real well, and you've got Smets. Now, once this IG tourney is over, and you go into teams and singles, you got to hope that these guys can also do that. Now, Zipper, I think Zipper will be one of the focuses, especially in the teams division, and possibly in the singles. We'll see. But I really, I don't know. I feel worried, I guess you could say, for what Kaiser's got going on. But we will see. Never count him out, because I'm sure he could pull something off if need be. All right, so Finstock came back in this. Tom Dagnino brought out the mask. Kaiser and Finstock, they work great off one another. They're friends, so it's fun watching them kind of banter back and forth and do their own thing. And both Emily and Eric seem to have gotten better on the mic, which is great to see as well. You know, that's one of the things, as being a huge wrestling fan, is I look a lot at mic skills, not just in ring talent. You could be a mediocre player, okay, but if you've got amazing mic skills, you're gonna pop on screen. You know what I mean? People are gonna remember you, and so that's something that I always kind of look for when I'm watching these matches and see how well they're doing. Like Brandon Hanna, for instance, when he did that first like kind of heel promo that he posted online, I didn't think it was great. It was okay, and I applaud him for giving the effort, but I really didn't think it was all that good. But then he did another one, and you could see the growth. You could see that he was learning, and his mic skills were growing from there. And so I appreciate that, even though I'm not a big fan of his character right now. So round one, Zipper does real well here, I think. Emily, not so much. She has a real rough round. Uh, 8-4. That's not good. Like I said, Zipper did pretty good. 8 points. May want to shore up some kind of weaknesses there, some blind spots that you have, but 4 points ain't gonna cut it. And unfortunately, this is not the end of that story. It continues into round two, and unfortunately for Emily, she does just as bad in round two. So Eric defers since he was in the lead. Emily spins Who Said It, and rightfully so, respins and lands on Spinner's Choice. This is exactly what you would want, especially if you're 4 points behind. If you had a bad round, Spinner's Choice, man, you get to choose what you want. She goes with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I don't know what her normal knowledge is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but if I didn't know anything else, I would think that why the hell did you pick that? You know what I mean? Um, 4 out of 10 points. She went to multiple choice 4 times, and Zipper wound up getting two 1 point steals from her misses. That's not good. Of coming out of her portion of round two, she's still behind, and Eric has a spin left. And he goes up, he spins opponent's choice. So you're like, okay, maybe this will help her out. She picks Middle Earth. Whoo, not a good choice. Again, not good. In the words of the dude from Indiana Jones, she chose poorly. Yes. Yeah, my thought process was either pick Who Said It or Scores and Soundtracks. I don't know how he is with scores and soundtracks, so maybe he would have been great with that. But I feel like Who Said It? It's so broad that it may have tripped him up a little bit here and there, and he may have missed some, or at least had to go to multiple choice more. Maybe. I don't know. I just don't think. Obviously, he's good. He got 8 out of 10 points. He only missed once with going multiple choice, and Emily did get a 1 point steal off of it, but that 1 point steal, it didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, even the 1 point steal didn't prevent her from getting the knockout. Him getting it wrong prevented the knockout because it was 18-9. If she hadn't gotten that 1 point steal, it would have been 18-8. So it just would have still been a 10 point, but it wouldn't have been a knockout. 18-9 going into the final round, 9 points, and I gotta say, you gotta have to ask Frank Janish, but I'm confident that there's nobody who's ever done a comeback from 9 points. Like, I don't think it's possible. I mean, unless you suddenly get all the knowledge in the world and get all three of your questions and they get none of them, it's literally the only way you can win. Anyways, Emily hits her 2 and misses her 3, and that's the end of the game right there. TKO, 18-11 in favor of Eric Zipper, and the dungeon picks up 4 big points here. That TKO got them that extra point, and that is huge. That took the dungeon up some spots. That took them up some spots. And Eric goes on to face the winner of Mike Kalinowski versus Greg Elba. I don't know, man. The dungeon winds up pushing Usual Suspects and Corruption down down a spot each. So the dungeon goes up to 7th, pushes Corruption down into last place. So Usual Suspects in 8th place. That's rough, you look at a team like Corruption, you think, well, shit, how are they in last place? But somebody's got to be in last place. That's just kind of the way it is. And when we get to the end, I got some stats of my own that I'm going to kind of talk a little bit and go over and kind of show you what's going to happen with that last place spot, because I find it pretty interesting, at least for a little while for right now. And I got to say, Gucci, professional, man. Real professional. Never once made Emily feel bad. Unlike what happened with Brandon Hanna and Ken Knapsack, Gucci is a professional here, real classy, never once makes Emily feel bad for that loss, and I love that about him. All right, so we are going to get into our final match of the night, and that is Paul Oyama versus Chance Ellison, Innergeekdom round 1 match. The feud continues here, guys. The feud continues. 2 former champions, one world heavyweight champ, one the tag team champ, going at it again. These guys had a feud stretching all the way back to the fan leagues. They came in, had that feud grew. They faced each other in the singles league, and Paul took out Chance, and now Chance gets his opportunity to get his revenge. I guess you could say. And speaking of Paul, I gotta say, his character shift or attitude shift, whatever you want to call it, it's probably a little bit of both, really, has been fantastic. I hated Paul Oyama last season. Big fan of the guy himself, either, because from what I've heard backstage, wasn't the greatest guy. He was kind of a d-bag, but his character has changed, and again, what I've heard, his attitude backstage has changed as well, and he's kind of realized that the things that he was doing, not cool. And I love where he's gone from here. And I actually find myself rooting for him now. And that's huge, I think. So keep that up, Paul. Don't change that. I want to see face Paul just keep going. Because when you were a heel, you were just you were Brandon Hanna, but a little bit worse, I think, at that time. But I'd say stay with what you're doing. I'm really digging it. I'm really digging it. So this match is a must win for Corruption. A win here would take them out of last place uh, and back over the dungeon and give Chance his first win in Innergeekdom, and it would give him a win over Paul Oyama. So it's a huge amount of pressure for Chance and for corruption as a faction, because a lot is riding on this match. So we get into round number one, and they're just going back and forth, bam, 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 bam. We get to question number 8. The question asks essentially, what was written on Harley Quinn's shirt in Suicide Squad? Now, if you look up a picture, or if you've seen the movie enough times and just happen to know, her shirt says Daddy's Lil, Lil, monster. Now, Chance answers first, and he says Daddy's little, spells out the word little, monster. And Christian accepts that. Then you see Paul kind of like thinking, oh shit, man, I fucking got it wrong. And he's like, I don't know if you'll accept this, but I put Daddy's little monster, and Christian accepts it. But Paul had the right answer. This is like the Dimalanta Mollie Damon match. That very first question, between absolute and absolutes. Absolutes is the correct answer. Absolute is not, but they both got the answer. Daddy's Lil Monster is the answer, and it's specific. This is almost like that quote specific thing I've been talking about. But it specifically says what was written on her shirt. Nowhere on that shirt does the word little appear. There's no T's or E's in that word. It's Lil. That's what's written, physically written on that shirt. That's what the answer is. And that's what the answer should have been. Now, that's on Christian for accepting that answer off of Chance in the first place. And I'm curious what would have happened if it had been reversed. If Paul had answered first with Daddy's Lil Monster, and then Chance had answered second with Daddy's Little Monster. I'm curious what would have happened there. I don't know. But nobody challenged it again. I don't know where Winston was on this. I don't know if he's just not good, not that knowledgeable on some of the DCEU type stuff. I don't know, or maybe it's just specifically that question. Maybe he didn't know. But seeing the two different answers and seeing Paul's reaction should have triggered something to be like, well, wait, which one is actually correct, and can I challenge it? That's what you need to do as a manager, because if he had challenged it, I don't see a reason why it wouldn't have been upheld, or why it wouldn't have not been upheld. And if they had struck down that challenge, I would have been pissed. But nobody challenged it, and so it is what it is. It could have actually. This could have altered the game, the end of the game. And when we get to the end of round 3, I will kind of dive a little bit more into why. But this whole shenanigan of it could have actually altered the game. It altered who won the game. So, but they both get perfect rounds with this, and they both hit their bonus going into round 2, 11-11. Chance spins Star Trek. Not quite feeling it. He doesn't say he doesn't want it. It's just like he'd prefer something else. Okay. He respins and lands on Middle Earth, and he does okay here. Gets 7 out of 10. Goes multiple choice a couple of times, misses once. Paul gets a 1-point steal. Okay, not great. But then Paul goes and spins Middle Earth, so he has to respin on this, and lands on opponent's choice. And after a slight bit of deliberation, they give him Star Wars. Now, I was unsure about this. Now, I do understand that typically Star Wars questions have been deeper cut, but ever since they decided for this season to start recycling old questions, they're not quite as bad. But unfortunately for Paul, he seemed to get some of the worst ones. All right, so he gets 4 out of 10 questions. Three multiple choice he goes, misses two questions, and Chance winds up with 3 points in steals. That's huge for Chance. A huge, huge, huge. Takes a 5 point lead coming out of round two, 21-16 in favor of Chance Ellison. Man, that was such a harsh round. Um, if Paul had gotten pretty much anything else, he probably would have done pretty well in that round. But it is what it is. You can't change the past. I suppose you can bitch about the past, but you can't change the past. So we get into round three, and Paul hits his two and his three. Chance gets his two, and so right there, when Paul gets his two and a three, it ties up the game. Okay, so right there, Paul is out of TKO range. At least preventing corruption from getting an extra point. So that's good there. So like I said, then Chance gets that two, and so then it's on Paul to get his 5 point question to at least force Chance to answer more questions. And unfortunately for him, he was unable to do that, and Chance wins the game 23-21. But I want to mention, like I said, I want to go back and mention that question real quick, because if it had been called correctly, or if a challenge had been made and won as it should have, at this point, after Chance with a 2 pointer and all that, the game would have been tied. Okay, so Chance would have had 2 points less here. It would have been 21-21, and Chance would have been forced to at least answer one more question. And who knows what would have happened? It's very possible that Chance would miss his 3 and 5. I've seen great competitors miss all three of their round three questions. It happens. It happens to the best of them. So you never know what would have happened. This theoretically could have altered the ending of this match. They could have gone to sudden death, and maybe Paul would be the one who is walking away with a win. Who knows? But that's not what happened, unfortunately. And so Corruption gets 3 points coming out of this, moving them from last place up to 7th. So they overtake the dungeon right there, taking that spot back and moving the usual suspects down into the final spot. So that wraps up all of the matches for the night. I want to go over the brackets real quick, and then I'm going to jump into the standings. All right. So we have got right here the Star Wars tournament. As you can see, Andrew Dimalanta moving on to next week's, not next week's, but in 2 weeks to face off against the winner of next week's match, Laura Kelly versus Andres Cabrera. So that's going to be, I think that'll be a good match. Andres has gotten better each time he's competed. And so I'm interested to see what happens here. Out of this, whoever wins the Laura Kelly Andres Cabrera match, that person will be the second person to ever get 3 wins in Star Wars. At this point, Alex Damon is the only one. He's got 5 right now. So, it's not an if, whoever wins will be the first person since Alex Damon to get 3 wins in the Star Wars League. And then we'll be going on to that final match on July 8th. And I'm rooting for Laura Kelly all the way. And then if Laura Kelly goes on to beat Alex Damon, then she will be the second person to have 5 wins in Star Wars. So that's what I'm hoping for. See Laura Kelly kind of get to that level of Alex Damon. I just think it would be fantastic. All right, and then we've got the Innergeekdom tournament bracket. I believe last week I had the wrong person in the winning slot for Janine and John Humphrey. When I was looking over the old bracket, I was like, why is Janine's on here? She didn't win that match. So I apologize if you guys were watching and saw that and super confused as to why I had Janine on there. But that I think I accidentally put her on there when it was actually John Humphrey. So this week we saw Chance Ellison and Eric Zipper take home these matches, and so next week we get Robert Parker versus Ben Goddard, and Mike Kalinowski versus Greg Elba. I am pretty excited for what we got going on here. So, 3 matches next week. We've got Laura Kelly versus Andres Cabrera, Robert Parker versus Ben Goddard, and Mike Kalinowski versus Greg Elba. It's going to be great stuff. Just seeing who winds up in the final, in the Elite Eight, as they call it. I'm excited to see what happens there. Hop on to any of the social medias real quick. Like right down here, you can see right down there. Follow me on Twitter at @movieblogmerc. You can hop into the chat of the YouTube stream or the video after the fact if you're watching it after the fact, and let me know, who do you want to win next week. Like I said, you got Laura Kelly and Andres Cabrera. For me, my pick is Laura Kelly. Then you got Robert Parker and Ben Goddard. Personally, I'm hoping for Ben Goddard. I think Ben is going to have it's not going to be easy. I'll say it that way. Robert Parker in that first match, he demolished, but he's had one match ever in this league, in any league in Schmoedown. Ben has just been, he's 3 leagues, wins in all. I think he's like 4. He's undefeated right now, 4-0, I think. This guy, he's got it. This is why I want to see Ben move forward here. And then between Mike and Greg, I love Greg, and I think it would be really interesting to see him move on. But Mike is who I got my money on for this one. Mike, he is a power player in the Innergeekdom. So, but don't sleep on Greg, man. He could definitely pull this out. You never know what is gonna happen. And so I'm going to get into the faction standings real quick here. So, leading the pack, of course, is the Finstock Exchange with 25 points, 9 points ahead of Swag, who is in second place and with 16. And then following right behind them in third is the Den with 15 points. And then we've got the Burning Droogs, the Quirky Mercs, and the Rock Stars, all with 9 points. Corruption and the Dungeon tied with 8. And the Usual Suspects in last place with 7 points. Now, if you're wondering, okay, well, how do they choose, who's, you got 3 people with 9 points. How do they choose? Well, it's all based on your matches played and your like win rate. So if you look at Burning Drews and Quirky Mercs, they both have played 7 matches. But the Droogs have won 4 of those matches. And then if you look at Corruption in the Dungeon, Corruption has won 7, or has played 7 and won 3, whereas the Dungeon has played 8 and only won 2, even though they've got the same scores. So, you kind of see it that way. Yes, the Dungeon has gotten KOs, TKOs, KOs for both those matches, so that's how they've gotten so many points in just 2 matches. But because of that win rate, that's what drops them down below Corruption. Now, I said that there was a little something I wanted to kind of go over when it comes to this faction standing. You see the Usual Suspects in bottom place here with 7 points. Okay, so if you come over, Mollie Damon was the Star Wars competitor for the Usual Suspects, and she is no longer in the tournament. And then you come over to the Innergeekdom, and you had Janine the Machine and Jen Kemp, who were the Usual Suspects, and both of them are now out of the tournaments. So, until these tournaments are over, the Usual Suspects is done. Until teams and singles or whatever do their thing. I think the next time the Usual Suspects has anything probably will be that John Roca versus Ethan Irwin match with Ethan. I believe that's probably going to be the next time that they have an opportunity to gain any points. But for probably the next month, Usual Suspects are going to be sitting at the bottom while some of these other teams are just racking up points, unfortunately. So hopefully for the Usual Suspects, they'll be able to get some traction in the other tournaments going forward. So coming up next week, like I said, we have got Laura Kelly versus Andres Cabrera. We have got Mike Kalinowski versus Greg Elba, and Robert Parker versus Ben Goddard. We've got some other stuff coming up soon-ish. I'm not sure of exact times. We've got the 36-player singles tournament. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to have some play-in matches, and then it's going to break down to 32 in the end after the play-in matches. Then we've also got Roca versus Ethan Irwin in the number one contenders match coming up. They're like I said, they're aiming for July 31st. At some point, we're gonna get Ben Bateman in his number one contender match. Again, not sure when, but probably within the next month or so, we'll see that. And then also next month, July 18th and 19th is the Skybound Expo. Now Harloff announced that he will be doing some hosting for. I don't know if he's hosting like the entire event or what exactly his hosting duties will entail, but he's gonna be doing some hosting at the Skybound Expo, and there will be a Schmoedown match taking place at this expo. They haven't. I don't think they've announced the exact day, but like I said, this expo is on the 18th and 19th of next month. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure that they will talk more about it. So that's it for this episode of Talkin Schmoedown. Thank you so much. Episode number 47. It's been great getting back. I've been loving doing the live thing. It's really cool. I get nervous every time I get ready to hit that go live button, but I've been really enjoying doing it. So thank you everybody who's popped in. I've seen some viewers popping in and out throughout the hour that I've been on, and I just want to say thank you so much for everybody who has supported me in the past and in the present. And I love all of you guys, and I hope that I'm giving you something worth watching. If you got any ideas or anything you wanna reach out to me, anything. Uh, Twitter, I am most active on this Twitter right here, which is at Movie Blog Merc. It is the official Merc with a Movie Blog Twitter page. Um, I post stuff regularly on there, pretty much daily. I'm doing stuff at this point. I didn't used to be into Twitter, but I've really kind of gotten into Twitter. You can also reach me on my personal Twitter. That's at JP Raynor. That's JPRAYNOR. I'm not quite as active on there, but I always check it. I don't always post stuff on it, but I will always check it. So yeah, you can always do stuff like that. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Merc with a Movie Blog. Go over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, so you know when things are popping up like these live streams. I'm going to start doing movie reviews and stuff like that as well. Also, check out the Anchor feed. That's anchor.fm/movieblog Merc. You've got all kinds of shows there. We got an SCN Live after show called SCN After Live. It's a take on our old Afterlife brand, which was a Collider Live after show. And when that ended, when SCN started, I should say, we decided to make a spinoff, SCN After Live. Jay Wade over there doing all kinds of stuff, talking about everything that's going on SCN Live. He talks some Schmoedown stuff. He has guests on there, like Hotel Nerd. He's had Winston Marshall's been on there, Kate Mulligan, all kinds of Schmoedown personalities have been there. Saul, he's been a regular on there quite a few times, so definitely check that out. If you're into The Bachelor and Bachelorette, we got a podcast for that too. It's called Go Get That Rose. It's got Sarah and Jay Wade is on there, and also Kristen, who is Winston Marshall's girlfriend. She did one of our spin-off season, one of the Bachelor spin-off seasons. I think it was Listen to Your Heart, I believe was the name of it. And so she was on there with Sarah covering that. So that was really fun. We also have a video game podcast, which is called Game Over Screen. So check that out. And also we've got Beyond the Screen, which is kind of like our own version of like an SEN Live type of or a Collider Live type of show where Mike, Sean, and Sarah just kind of get together, shoot the shit about whatever's going on, whatever the hell they want to talk about. We also do a Harry Potter review show called Through the Port Key, where Sean and Kaylin and Sarah sometimes where they review. They've been doing the movies. I think we've got 4 episodes out right now, and when the new season comes out, we'll be bringing back our Mandalorian review show as well. And me and my brother have a podcast called Off the Ropes. It has its own anchor feed, but I do cross promote onto this feed. It's Off the Ropes with John and Josh. It's a wrestling podcast. We just recorded an episode last night, which will be going up sometime soon. Probably tomorrow. I'm gonna try. I think I just gotta edit a little bit more of it, and then that should be up there. You can check out that anchor feed at anchor.fm/off the ropes JJ. So it's Off the Ropes with John and Josh. So 2 J's. So yeah, a whole lot of stuff thrown at you. Again, Twitter at movie blog Merc right there. Make sure to check out that. And thank you so much again for joining me today. And this show wouldn't be the same without you guys. So once again, I am Josh the Merc Raynor, and we have been talking Schmoedown. Catch you next time.